All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday to all, and may the 4th be with you. My name is Jared. It is Engineering the Markets. Welcome back. And as always, let's take a look midweek. We are, of course, anticipating some news and information this trading session with the Fed minutes and press conference coming out at about 2 p.m. Eastern trading time. We are also sitting in sort of a precarious location in the S&Ps and of course across the market. Lots of anxious breath in regards to will the market continue to sell, or have we been starting to see some more constructive building of support in regards to this large correction we've encountered. So let's first off take a look at what the expected move is this week. Now, we marked this off on Monday, noting that this is a fairly higher expected move for the week. Oh, my data didn't get saved. Might have to write up the numbers again, but it was approximately 168 points for the S&P. So last week we had about 130 some odd, 135 expected move. Market was able to test that low on Friday's session. So we did get some fairly wild downside trade last Friday. And as we started the week, we know that the market is anticipating some volatility on Monday. Volatility futures were inverted. We were looking at the VIX kind of trading above 30, typically more of a hedging and slight panic mode in regards to wider trading ranges and just wilder overall trade in the market. Yesterday and Monday, we did see the S&P print a bit of a defensive candle. We didn't necessarily close below the February low, which is sort of that absolute area of interest for the market. And also notable that the February low didn't necessarily close below the January low. So there's a lot of relatively fear-based lows. Some of them are somewhat selling climax style, and some of them are more defensive in nature in regards to testing and obviously rebounding from these levels. So the question is this low going to behave in a similar fashion? And what sort of price action can we anticipate for the rest of the week? Well, if you're looking bullish, then obviously the expected move gives us a bit of an upside target. If we are to move higher, especially with a reaction from today's Fed minutes and press conference, then 4,300 stands out as our topside expected move for the S&P. And then, of course, if we are to sell off further, not necessarily this week, but the week of expected move puts our lower bound price at about 39.63. Now, this, of course, would be a very notable test of expected move because we would be losing 4,000 or 400 in the SPY. And then, of course, seeing the market hit these levels puts us at 52-week lows for the S&P. Basically, year to date, if we're looking, or sorry, not year to date, 52 weeks back in the S&P, May 12th of last year marked off a 52-week area that if the S&P were to lose, then of course we would be seeing a lot of fear and uncertainty return to the market, essentially giving back a year's performance in the S&P overall. So we're pretty much on that line. You know, I'm not really trying to skin a couple of points here to say that we haven't touched it yet, but this is a very important area of the market for a lot of different reasons. Conceptually as well, there are these larger trading ranges that we're starting to form. We obviously have some potential trend line definition. If the market is going through sort of a bearish channel, this definition is becoming more and more clear as the market continues to move higher and lower through larger buy and sell swings. And then, of course, conceptually, when you're looking horizontal, you want to kind of think about the recovery of something like a selling climax. So basically getting back into your trading range, which for the most part, outside of these two sessions here, we never closed below this until recently. So if the market is to reclaim these upper bound prices, we would need to reestablish bullish above the selling climax, not in a reversal, but more so in a trend change fashion, something that looks a bit more constructive. Now, short term, you might want to keep an eye on a couple of things that are standing out in the downtrend that we are experiencing. First and foremost, the 4-hour provides a guide as to some of those upper sell areas and obviously the resistance that we're going to be eventually running into if we continue to climb higher. This area of the market here stands out as it is a relatively clear double top. Lots of larger sell swings in the market coming off of that 430-ish print. And then, of course, looking at what construction has been built so far for a short-term uptrend. Right now, we do have a 4-hour uptrend, although it is a bit mild. We have set a higher low and printed a higher high on yesterday's session. And what this simply means is the daily pivot is underway, or the daily bounce has begun. We did close stronger than the low of Monday's session. And while the daily bounce is likely to run into some upper resistance on the immediate downtrend, daily bounces are needed, and the space to form uptrends is needed whenever you have sort of counter trend play. Additionally, if you're looking to continue to short or be bearish this market, you may want to wait until this more recent bounce starts to fade or returns back into shorter term downtrends for repositioning in the market. Same idea with the Nasdaq as well, albeit construction and constructive behavior here is a little bit more challenging moving forward. You know, obviously the selling climax of January was a bit higher in price. We've had plenty of activity sitting below. And then, of course, thinking about that channel support and resistance, it's really hard to imagine using this trend line because that puts the Nasdaq much below 300. We're not quite there yet, but if we are to imagine that this low is holding, then it kind of puts a little bit of a concept of possible bearish channel support coming into the Nasdaq, especially with the size of this downtrend extension that the market has experienced. So just really looking for a bit more of an oversold play, allowing the market to maybe recover some of the sell swing, and then moving forward, seeing whether we form more constructive uptrends from these lows, or will the sells continue back at resistance zones. So you want to be thinking the 50 period, similar to last year, the 50 period, very clear guide as to where to position for risk. If you recall last year, anyone who basically bought the 50 period was rewarded at some point. We may be seeing the opposite form this year in regards to selling the 50 period or breaches of the 50 period. That certainly has taken a while to construct, but is starting to become an idea for short-term play. So another thing to keep an eye on, and I do have it marked here, the S&P does have a weekly gap that formed. This is the idea of a weekly session going into a Monday session. Usually these weekend style gaps are relatively impulsive in nature. Usually it just means some information came out on the weekend session and the market marked up the prices going into Monday's open. So this area of, I'll call it gap support for now, we obviously are kind of right on that edge, coincides with the 52-week low. But if we do continue to sell, keep in mind that there is a small gap here. And usually when you enter these gaps, these pockets of low liquidity, you tend to fill them up completely. before seeing any stronger buying response, in this case, countering the downtrend. So, all right, so couple of key names for earnings yesterday. We'll go over those really quickly. We already covered some of that this morning in the chat room, but AMD did come out with its earnings. Bullish reaction in regards to the market move. Market was pricing in about an $8.50 to $9 expected move at the end of yesterday's session. You'll see that that's still pretty much intact. We did close about 91. So an $8 to $9 expected move puts us right into 100. And then, of course, if it was bearish, we'd be looking closer to about 83 to 82. Now, some interesting structure for AMD, obviously getting back to 100 psychological, lots of open interest, lots of volume, tends to trade at these human psychology prices, these whole dollar and whole number prices. But additionally, this is also a relevant area for AMD. 100 is a very strong previous support that the market used for essentially most of last year and into the beginning of this year. Back testing this area would be kind of interesting to trade against. And then, of course, same idea, there is a weakened gap in AMD. This gap actually provided the breakdown through 100. The levels for this gap are marked as such. So the downside, lower bound of that gap is about 98.6. We normally call this the gap open because you're opening in a gap down. And then 101 is the gap close. This is where if the market were to go back through the gap, you close the gap. And this is also where the daily candle closed on that session. So 101 is the top side. Now, strategy can be placed around this area. You might want to think about selling some of the higher IV premium for earnings and using any of that premium to facilitate reversal or any sort of bullish lean that you may have on the stock. But understand that the expected move this week facilitates about an $8 to $9 move. So if we go above 100, it actually is a bit of a breach. And usually those will fade or simply not have a lot of additional momentum until new market participants enter the market. We need to see some of that play come into today's price action. We'll go to Starbucks next. Starbucks, same idea, about a $5 expected move for earnings. You'll want to note that we closed at about 74.30. Grab my pen really quickly to make sure everybody sees what I'm seeing. About 74.30 on yesterday's session. We're opening up right at about 79.50. And with a $5 expected move, that pretty much puts us right on the money in regards to where did the market anticipate this reaction. You want to look at that just conceptually as well. We are, of course, looking a bit bullish this morning, but since we are hitting that expected move, be wary of relative fade in this area or just not a lot of additional momentum until we start to do things like breakout or have volume signatures that move us through high of day or move us through technical levels. Another thing you might want to watch with Starbucks, 79 was a breakdown level. We made fresh lows from this price. And before that, we were consolidative around 81.50 to 79. So Starbucks sort of reclaiming this area, maybe seeing some milder trade in the next couple of days in this range. And that would be, of course, if we do not reject that swing low. So keep all that in mind with a $5 expected move. And last but not least, Airbnb. Once again, another relatively bullish overall reaction. But keep in mind that Airbnb was actually pricing in a bit of a higher expected move this week, about $16.50 to $17 at most. Closing at 145, we are opening at about 152. So, we are maybe halfway there for today's open if we trade around this price. But the top side of the reaction candle put us at 157. So about $12 from the reaction. Keep in mind, this is for end of week. So if this continues to be more of a bullish lean in regards to upside, think about where that expected move is located based on the 145 close. You basically want to be thinking about 162 upside, or of course downside. If we did have a downside reaction, that would be closer to that 130 to 128 lower bound support. So all right, last but not least, we do have the Fed minutes coming out today for those who are unaware. Bring this over to our economic calendar. So economic subtab, calendar menu. Fed interest rate decision at 2 p.m. Fed press conference at 2:30. This is market time, so Eastern Standard Time. Recall that we are anticipating a go ahead and load this real quick. We are anticipating a 50 basis point hike. The market itself is anticipating it as well. So there's really no bias here. This is based on probability from the market. Anything above and beyond or anything lower than 50 points would, of course, be a surprise for the market. And that would be, adjusted accordingly based on how the market perceives that risk. But another thing you might want to keep an eye on and keep ears on is what the Fed is going to be doing with its balance sheet. Currently, the Fed is holding a large set of mortgage-backed securities and just overall bond products. And as we are looking at the bond market occasionally throughout these sessions, we are still looking at a very strong and very significant downtrend in both TLT and any relative bond product like your 30-year, which is /ZB for just for futures traders. So this bond market product, the overall impact to interest rates, which have been not only very strong, but just naturally in an uptrend. Uptrending markets tend to continue to get stronger. The risk is almost always to the upside until markets can shift around certain price levels. And this is the 10-year, the 30-year as well. Both of these are hitting that sort of important 3% level. So big picture, massive breakouts across interest rates. Some of them are just forming. Some of them have been moving through their resistance zone for at least a month now, especially in regards to the 10-year. And one of our thesis ideas was maybe just having the market start to stall or top out at a relative swing high. So, obviously looking for lows in the bond market that would coincide with tops in interest rates. What the Fed decides to do with its balance sheet may impact this thesis. And obviously, until then, just understand that the risk right now is to the downside in these products. You may want to consider, however, positioning around a relative low. The idea of maybe selling some premium, obviously doing something a bit more risk adverse until we see stabilization of a downtrend. And obviously, if you believe the interest rates are going to continue to climb, going short or using bounces to actually get positioned short in TLT has been the winner for this this entire year. The TLT basically started its sell-off at year start, basically as soon as the year crossover occurred. So, all right. Couple of questions. Let's see. Do you expect the market to react negatively after the Fed? I think in regards to the reaction, Usually it's the immediate reaction that we're going to be dealing with, the um, automated trade that comes from just reading the notes and a lot of algorithmic back and forth. What I often like to do, and this is less for day trade and more for kind of looking ahead, whatever highs and lows are set by those algorithmic trades, usually you're going to see like a sort of an earnings reaction style candle. Lots of just up and down price activity defined by some trading bound. Whatever breakout or breakdown we get through those prices, if we get them, that's going to define a bit of sentiment around what is a short-term reaction versus a continuation. Um, so you almost want to let that range be set first. You can obviously scalp and trade around it as it's happening, lots of volatility to use. But as far as like positioning moving forward, I usually like to use those highs and lows as sentiment. For example, the one that occurred back in January, I believe, was this high right here. That should be right. It was Wednesday, January end. So this high was set during that reaction. You can actually see it kind of clearly on the 4-hour. There's a lot of volatility here. And while you'll see a downstroke in the market, initially this was kind of a bit of fear in regards to more selling coming after a big capitulation. But the market turned using these types of levels and started to break out. And that actually provided a bit more bullish sentiment for a couple of days. Obviously, we were coming into Q1 earnings, so there was more data to analyze at the time. But I do recall this one being a pretty impactful level. JS, yeah, someone posted the Fed tool. And keep in mind, you can access this at any time. So, here's the link for it. The way this works, though, is it is pulling from futures contracts. We haven't really looked at that in depth yet, but overall, this tool simplifies it. What you're pulling data from are different monthly expirations of this futures product, and the pricing that is going on dictates what the market expects in terms of probability of certain rate hikes. So, obviously, once this information is known, those contracts are starting to basically settle at whatever relative price is determined. They'll expire and they'll move into these contracts, which become sort of an active contract. This is not something that you trade necessarily, but it's almost like an index. It watches probability, and this tool allows you to visualize it. So, when I say that this tool is not really based on bias, it's based on data. It's market data that it's pulling from, and these futures contracts are where it's coming from. Let's see. Do you think real unemployment percentage is increasing? Will the price of oil increase? I did see that the numbers are going up. So it's not really what I think, it's what the data reports. I'd have to look and see, but I believe it is on an uptrend right now, that the numbers have been going higher. Will the price of oil increase? I mean, everything about the chart dictates that it's probably still, looking more bullish overall. One thing you want to watch out, though, for crude oil is what's the product depth doing? Because at the end of the day, this is a futures contract. You can see some bias here in regards to, is the market still in a inverted state? And what that means is short-term crude futures are priced lower than longer-term crude futures, which means holding costs are beneficial in regards to crude. So when you have this natural inversion, and in this case it's a physical commodity product, backwardation versus contango. This is backwardation. It's inverted. It means that there is a natural bullish lean in this market. You compare that with something like natural gas, which for a while didn't have this curve to it. And now, as you can see, and I'm just kind of reducing the data here, bringing it maybe to only this year, this is now starting to become a bit more flat. It actually was curving upward for a while, but this has actually become flat. It puts pressure on the product to look more like a bullish uptrend, usually price appreciation in the active contracts. Because when you roll, you're basically selling something that's priced high and buying something that's priced low to roll your active contract. That naturally allows for profitability, and in this case, the active contract gets priced higher. So it's just the way that the futures products work, and these concepts should be not necessarily straightforward, but a futures trader will have these concepts in their back pocket. They'll know which markets are, I guess, have a proclivity to be bullish or bearish based on the lean. Now, we do this exact same thing with volatility futures too. What's interesting about volatility futures is they go through these phases very quickly. So you'll have something that was once inverted, and volatility futures here, I'm looking at today's pricing. They're pretty much flat, but they are going down in price. You compare that to just 2 days ago, we were inverted. And the pricing here, especially in the actives, was above 30. That's a pretty big inflection point. So this curve is actually shifting dynamically, and it's those moments of inversion for volatility where oftentimes you'll get relatively strong market bottoms, technical or stable otherwise. And obviously, VIX hitting 35, 36. That was another nice inflection to keep an eye on. We went ahead and marked that a couple days ago. So relative resistance and inflection, getting back below inflection puts the market at risk of turning the trend, which is an uptrend, into a downtrend. And that, of course, can be seen with how fast this drawdown has been in the VIX. So, all right. That's pretty much it. So yeah, we'll go ahead and call it here. Obviously, trade safe today. Keep all these concepts in mind as we move through the Fed minutes. If you see volatility really come off in the market, you might want to be thinking about some of the bullish potential. But if the market reacts poorly, and of course, if volatility spikes through some of the information we're getting, that may indicate a bit of additional uncertainty and maybe some more I would say volatile trade, maybe not necessarily bearish, but just volatile trade moving forward. We definitely want to see this volatility come off a little bit to stabilize the market. So, all right, y'all. Trade safe. We'll talk more tomorrow, and see y'all then.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a pre-market prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hope you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, brother. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good. Um, I'm telling you, today I felt like today was like Thursday or Friday. My week has been so long already with everything going on, the kids. It's just been wild. But hope everyone's having an amazing Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you guys. Uh, guys, thumbs up for Jared for always getting us ready and fired up in the morning with a lot of great information there on the overall markets and a couple of tickers that he went through and answering some of your very good questions as well. So thank you, Jared, for that. As we get to it, guys, looking at our list from yesterday. I didn't get to trade yesterday. Just too much going on here on the family front end. But we did have a couple of things that were okay as I'm reviewing this morning. We'll start here with AMD is good now. But we'll start with AMD here. AMD did give you a couple of opportunities here towards the top side. It ran pretty well. Good continuation above the high of the day. Again, I did not really see how this actually traded, so I can't comment on the actual price action. But it looked like it was a very rough start here, very indecisive in this area. And then finally, this is something that Andrew taught us way, way back when he was doing the classes, right? Higher highs, higher lows, right on there. That's a good indication this thing does not want to sell off. You have to be patient to see this, right? Look at the bigger picture. Might not be too clear in the 1 minute. And then you can see here finally taking that breakout towards above the high of the day and then some up there. So that's good. Throughout the day, again, a lot of indecision here as it was getting ready for earnings last night, which did very well this morning. They're up 6.7. We'll look at that in a second. It'll probably stay right there for us. Here is Apple. Again, more indecision on many stocks as well as we're getting ready for the FOMC meeting. This it's today, right? It's today? Tomorrow? Did I
Well, the
get that
meeting's
right?
been yesterday and today, but the policy announcement's 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Right, the big one, the big announcement is today, so we'll see where it goes there. So again, a lot of sideways action there. Here's Tesla again, very choppy sideways action as well. Just again, very, very, very tough day. Oxy, I saw Oxy earlier today, and man, look at this pop on Oxy. Beautiful breakout above the highs of the day. Did keep going there. Was very, very strong for the most part, and then just kind of leveled off for part of that. FWDC actually held pretty good. It held this pop from the pre-market, did give you a couple of opportunities there. Not a great trader, but for the way this stock trades, this is actually not bad pre-market. Intraday action, right? Again, you can expect a whole lot out of this one. It did hold the pop. It didn't sell back down. So it could be interesting for the next coming days here. My thing with this one is I think the volume is going to be dead now. I don't think you're going to get anything great going forward. But again, that's just my opinion. I might be completely wrong on this. So, all right, so that's what we had. A couple of notable mentions of Facebook. Again, just continues its crazy choppiness here, but it's a good one to keep an eye on. So we'll keep that one on deck. Maybe it's a possible again. I think there could be some more opportunities there coming in the future. With that said, let's get to our overall market pulse. Norm, what is the latest and greatest?
Yeah, I mean, the big news is that policy announcement this afternoon. There was an ADP employment report out this morning. It showed that the thing is, it showed small businesses getting hit. Larger businesses hiring, smaller businesses getting hit. Um, it can be explained likely because people are demanding higher wages that larger companies can take on and absorb that cost to some degree, whereas smaller ones have a more difficult time doing so. So, 8:30 we had the international trade balance data come out. 9:45 S&P Global U.S. Services PMI, ISM Services Index at 10, but the big one is 2 o'clock with the FOMC policy statement. Everybody expecting a 50 basis point raise on that the Fed funds rate and some winding down of the balance sheet. 2:30 JPAL press conference. So we will see.
Yeah, yeah, definitely going to be a whole lot of fun for sure and very interesting. I expect a little more chop today too until
Oh, I
those numbers
think
come out.
I think we'll have maybe some moves early, but then I think it's going to die off fast.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
a highly anticipating announcement. Um, everybody knows that if it's anything different than that 50 basis point move, that things are going to get crazy. So I wouldn't be surprised if people sit on their hands for a good chunk of the day.
Yeah, yeah, will not surprise us at all. So it's just guys, be ready for that, right? Knowing that information and seeing this type of setup in the past, where we've been through chop. If you're constantly getting stopped out of your position, out of your strategy, there's a reason the market might not be moving as you expected or as you normally would on a regular situation. So just be mindful of that. Keep it in your back pocket. All right, guys, let's take a look here at our gappers list. We're going to remove everything from here, and I'm going to do Control A, Control X on them. Dash Trader Pro takes care of that, but I am going to add immediately back AMD right on here, right? So AMD had a good earnings report, looks like here. They're
Yeah, they
gapping
did.
up. Yeah, 6.5, Norm. How well did it go for them?
Their guidance was especially strong. They were anticipated, I believe it was like year-over-year growth of 30%, and they said no, it's probably going to be closer to 60, if I remember correctly. So they really got to pop on that.
Yeah, I'm definitely liking them this morning. Yeah, let's see if it holds. And I think even with the pop, I'm still standing by, even with everything good going for them. If the market's going to be choppy overall with everything that's happening, I think you might still see some chop even on this one. So,
and with AMD, and I'm not speaking about the next few hours and chop before the FOMC, but the funny thing is, having traded semiconductors over the last decade or so, they're highly cyclical, and it's very strange how they move. It's counterintuitive to what one might think is going to happen with it. And a lot of times good news is overshadowed by the cycle, the semiconductor cycle. So we'll see if it holds. I'm curious. I'm curious. Yeah. It'll be interesting over the next few days.
I could not agree with you anymore, man. Absolutely. And this is from seeing this so long. You've been trading a lot more longer than I have. And yeah, absolutely. All right, so AMD's on deck, guys. Let's take a look at our gappers list. Got a couple of names in here, starting with LTHM. So, wow, nice gap up 22% this morning. I don't believe I recall this ticker, 276,000. So what went on with this? Earnings after hours, looks like here. Is this a lithium company? No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It is. Okay. Just by the ticker, because their names are something different, but the ticker looks like a lithium type situation there. But yeah, they're up 22%. I don't know how well they trade. Their history here shows that the volume is not great. Daily's candles are not so bad. Looks very risky though. They're moving through a couple of dollars very aggressively. So I think you got to be careful on that front. Average true range on this ATR is $1.40 on a regular basis, right? 14 days. So that tells you that's a high ATR for this stock when it's trading, with that just the last 14 days, right? So be mindful. Now you do have some big drops in here that are adding to that, right? So just be careful with this one. It looks more on the riskier side. It's not a low float, but I'm gonna add it here just to make sure we are careful with this one. LTHM definitely in play, guys. Nice pop. It needs to have more volume, I think, for me, but we'll come back to it. It's a little bit early. South Atlanta, well, not really, but SATL. SATL here. They are down 17.7 this morning, 1.1 million shares traded. So this looks nasty, guys. This is so bad right now. I mean, just look at the pop. I mean, look at the drop. What are we doing here? This is not something you want to be involved with, at least not yet, right? We might need to wait here a little bit. So I'm not going to add it to my list yet, guys. We'll come back to it if it gets any better.
But it's a satellite company. They announced an agreement with SpaceX this morning. That having been said, I agree with what you're talking about with the charts. That's a nut touchy for me.
I agree. It's just not looking good there. Starbucks had earnings as well. They are up 7.1. I gotta say I do like Starbucks on after earnings. I think they can have some potential here. They're up 7.1, which is nice for them. Volume 290. Don't read too much into the volume. They don't get heavy volume even on earnings, right? Unless there's something completely out of control. But I'll add them to the list here. We'll see where this goes. I like the daily too, sitting at an area of support right over here. That has now become resistance for this morning so far, at least. I like that setup so far. Red, what do we have here? AMD, we looked at already. Red box continues to try to hold here. Small red day yesterday, into the green this morning, 6.5. Well, again, this is just a hit or miss type stock. I have not traded this yet. We'll put it as a possible. We will come back to that. mRNA, what's going on with mRNA? They're up 4%, 362,000. Did they have
the earnings this morning?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So earnings this morning, getting a small pop here, giving some back already. Could be interesting. We'll put it here. mRNA. We'll see where that goes. Heading down, we do have Airbnb. We've been waiting for this one. How did this do? How was the earnings on Airbnb? They're up 4% right now, and it's a
Strong
tough.
demand for travel.
Yeah, it's a tough one to trade intraday. They can be
Unless you're
very,
Ed.
very unless you're Ed. I mean, Ed can definitely trade this the way his style is, right? We'll put it as a possible because we'll see. Airbnb. We'll put that here for now. We'll come back to that one. Good volume right now, up 4%. Not the best pre-market activity, but you're not going to get a great pre-market action on Airbnb. It just doesn't work that way, the way it moves. MRO, not looking great. I know you're up 2.7, but even 1.3 million shares traded. This is not a great pre-market activity at all. So their dailies funky. Are they foreign? What are these guys?
No, this is Marathon Oil.
Yep.
They've got earnings tonight, but you'll see the next few tickers are oil and nat gas on here. There've been some comments out of OPEC this morning that have moved stuff. They've been in play other than that, but there's also that. So
Gotcha. All right, so we'll look at out of all these oil companies, Oxy is the best one. I think personally, in my opinion, this is it moves very well, gets great volume, and we're back. We talked about this 2 days ago, guys, being at the bottom of this range, right? Oxy loves to be within this range. It's a big range, it's a small range, but it loves to bounce off this level, and we saw that we're seeing in the last couple of days. So we're back almost at the top here. I like Oxy. We'll put it on here. The pre-market on Oxy could be, you can't put too much weight on it because it does not put in a good pre-market action. We have to wait for the market open to see how that's going to be there. All right. DVN, excuse me, DVN.
Devon Energy, nat gas.
Yeah, a big pop yesterday. We'll have to see at the market open how that's going to play out. Oxy for me is going to be the one to look at. All right, so that's our entire gap up list. Let's take a look at what's gapping down. Leading the way, BWBV. So BWV here. Oh no, this doesn't look interesting at all, guys. I'm gonna pass on this. 3.4 million shares float. Look at this. Is this an actual trading day? Well, like, was this actually
That's
transactions?
Blue Water Vaccines. It's been in play here and there. That's the one. Yeah, they had that big drop. We talked about that. It dropped like 80 some odd percent in one day. Because of a flu vaccine issue, I believe, or something of that nature. So it's no bueno.
I think this might have been the time I might have been out, I think, on that time. But yeah, this is pretty bad. All right, so yeah, nothing to see here. Let's move down to ACAM, AKAM. Also another one that's gapping down at 12.8, but doesn't look good at all, guys. This doesn't look like it has any potential to trade well. So I'm gonna pass on it. Very light on the volume. Not interested. IonQ's got some activity today. 2.6 million shares traded. Do they have any news or what's going on? That's heavy volume for them so early this morning. So something must be going on with them. Let's put it on here. IonQ. We will come back to that one. Not the best trader, but we have seen some good stuff out of them in the past. It hasn't been all bad, right? But IonQ, we will leave that there for sure. So, all right. Thank you, GS. Just move that gappers list up for you so you can see there. MASI. Ooh, no. We'll move down. Uber. Uber earnings, right? Yeah.
Yes. Uber had earnings today. It's the divergence between Uber and Lyft is actually pretty crazy. Lyft had earnings last night, down 27% almost. Excuse me. Lyft had earnings last night. I don't know which I said. Did you look at Lyft? I don't remember you.
I know we haven't.
Lyft.
We haven't looked at.
It's
Lyft,
at the top of the gappers list on the gap
Oh,
down. You must be scrolled down wrong.
Yeah,
Lyft had earnings last night, and it's getting destroyed. Uber had earnings this morning, and it was actually doing well, but they've pulled back a little bit. So
yeah. Oh, wow.
We'll see how it goes.
This is definitely going to add both of these on here. They could be tough to trade, guys, but today their volume is insane. Their range is nice. I actually like Uber. Uber's got a nice range in the pre-market today. So both heavily in play today. Let's hope they trade well, though. That's the key with these guys. Yeah, I missed Lyft. We're scrolled down for a bit there on that first one. All right, we will stop here. Oh, some Chinese stocks coming in first. Let's take a look at Billy. No good right now. Baba. No, it could be something, but I like Baba when it gaps up like this for the sell-off. I love that. We're not seeing that right now. It might just drip down here to some of these levels, but not really heavily in play at the moment. So, all right, I think we are all set, guys. Norm, anything you like this morning on your list?
I hate these big Fed announcement days. Like
I
we
know.
said, they're usually pretty choppy. So I'm gonna probably have a pretty broad range of some of these
Hmm.
earnings plays. See how they do. Maybe trade, maybe not today.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you there. Let's take a look at how about Apple? Is Apple doing anything at the moment? Let's take a look. No, pretty flat right now. Volume, but pretty flat. Okay, let's take it to the chat room. Our friends over in our chat here. What do you guys have this morning? Khaled, you're giving us Lyft. Lyft is good. We have that on there. Lyft Classic S4 breakdown. Yeah, it's taking a hit, man. It is taking a nice hit. The last time we were here, we will look at look at our weekly. We're right on there, just right on here. So you got some, you know what, since we're here already, let's mark these levels so I don't have to come back to them. But here, 2023 seems to be one, another one at 21. We'll mark these just for the heck of it, but I don't think we'll be sliding to 14 anytime soon. 19, possible, possible. All right, what else, guys? So Lyft is good. We have that on deck. Oxy and AMD will be a good one. Yeah, I believe, especially AMD would be nice. If the market or the overall choppiness from the meetings doesn't get a hold of it, I think AMD can trade very well. So I'll be looking out for that one. Definitely on top of my list this morning. I do like Starbucks as well, and a couple of others here. Lyft and Uber. Lyft and Uber are moving well pre-market, guys. Good volume. Hopefully that can carry over into the market open. All right, guys. It looks like you guys don't have a lot on here, which is okay because there's not a whole lot to watch just yet. Let's see over on our YouTube chat, see if our friends on YouTube have anything that we can add on here. Mohammed, you're giving us Tesla. I do think Tesla could be a good one to watch. Light volume today, though. Very, very light on the volume. I think this is probably one of the slowest start as far as shares traded they had in a very long time. Only 134. Um, that's going to change, especially after the meeting. So we will see. Lyft is good. Trade RVSN. All right, more of a penny stock breaking out of a dollar. It seems here, $1.50. Yeah, I'm not too interested on these really low price stocks. And what's the float on this RVSN? It's just not my style of trading. 7 million shares flow, so it's got the volume, 8.5 million. It's just, man, it's so low price. I mean, even as a low flow, I get it. I like that to be over five, over $3 maybe, but I don't know. Norm, I've been trying to use this hockey for a while here. What do you think, my friend?
What was the float on it?
It's a 7.7. Is it too high?
So there's a total of what, $14 million in the float?
Yes.
No, I'm not trading anything that Andrew can buy all by himself.
Absolutely. So yeah, I don't see anything good on this one, guys. So be careful with that one. Shop Neo. Let's take a look at Neo from Scott. Scott is giving us Neo. Neo here. No, light on volume, pretty flat right now. 395 was good 2 years ago for any stock. Now for Neo, 395 it needs more juice, and I just don't see anything good out of this right now. So I will pass on it on this one, Scott, for the moment. Again, I think that today's going to be one of those interesting days. Shopify, I know they had earnings. Did they have earnings already? I believe they did, or it's
Yeah,
coming
a
up.
few days ago, I think. I thought.
No, I thought so too, but maybe I'm confusing it with another one. Yeah, because it's coming up
Oh,
tomorrow,
it's
actually.
tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
bad.
yeah. I know we've been talking about it, so I probably thought it
It
happened.
trades so terribly. I don't really pay
I know,
attention to
man.
it.
I know a lot of people are looking for this. It's another type of streaming service, and they just been getting killed as far as
Shopify?
Netflix. Well, this is not. Oh, see, now I knew I was confusing with something. I'm confusing it with Spotify. That's what it is. I'm confusing this with
Yeah,
Spotify.
it's the
Yeah, yeah,
sales
yeah, yeah.
platform. It just trades
No, no, no.
terribly.
This is, yeah, which actually they both trade pretty bad anyway. Spotify and Shopify, they're both pretty bad. So, we'll
This
see
was in
earnings.
that era of web when you just put "fi" on the back of it and expect to become very wealthy.
Yes, true. That is very true. All right, so we are all set, guys. Let's get to our community events and announcement. IMO, one last one here. No good here, guys, on IMO. This is oil, so you got to wait for the market open. There's some other ones I'd rather watch than this one. Okay, cool. Let's get to our market not our market, but our community event and announcement coming up for the rest of this week and next.
I can handle that. All right. Technology. I still don't have technology for the next week. I apologize. Kyle's should be posted, talking about the new beta for DAS and the Q&A from Monday. Then last night we had already talking about implied volatility, should be posted soon if it's not already next week. We've got VPA part 2 with Thor, 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Tonight, we've got Dr. Kenneth Reed. He'll be talking about the humble trend line. That's at 8 p.m. Next week, we've got Creda. Wednesday, note the special time, 5 p.m. Because of her time zone, talking about neutralizing pressure while trading. Thursday is mentorship at 11, 4, and 8. Don't forget about stocktradingsimulator.com, our free web-based trading simulator. You can go to stocktradingsimulator.com, sign up. You'll get a couple of homework assignments a week, pointing you in the right direction of what time of day and what tickers to look for. Makes it a whole lot easier. So go check that out. And then the test drive, the intro membership, go to bearbulltraders.com, scroll down about halfway down the page, you will see the membership chart. You can pick that test drive, or aka intro, fill it out, use the promo code premarket24, it'll get you a discount. It is 7 calendar days, 5 trading days in the chat. Doesn't auto renew or anything like that. And if you'd like to get access to all of the webinars that we have, use the promo code SPRING50 to get half off the Elite annual membership. Hello.
I was on mute. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was on mute. So for next week, Norm, I'm going to be doing the tech class. I'll get a title over to Mike pretty soon, so we'll come up with something. Right. There's a few things I've been getting asked a lot in regards to technology, so we'll put something together nice. for Monday. That'll be fun. All right, guys, let's take a look here. We have AMD, we have Starbucks, we have mRNA, we have Oxy, we have Uber and Lyft, which are again, just interesting at the moment. Both down, but man, Lyft is just taking a bloodbath here. So looking forward to those. Great volume, hoping that can translate into the market open with some good pre-market activity. Our possibles list, take a quick look at it. RDBX, no good at the moment. Airbnb starting to move here. Starting to drop a little bit, gapped up, but giving some back this morning. IonQ, and we have Tesla, which is so quiet. Why is Tesla so quiet today? It's insane. All right, let's get to some levels. I know it's a little bit early. Actually, you know what? Let's wait till 9. Let's do some questions in the meantime, and then we'll start at 9 because I know our friends in the West Coast love to have us wait a little bit till 9 so they can get going, get their coffee, and join us. So we appreciate that. Guys, any questions so far that we can answer as far as the overall market? I know there was a question up here very early on in our chat, and it was about Bitcoin. And if somebody can, here it is. There it is. Thank you for posting that again. Appreciate it. Dear Carlos and Norm, could you please comment on Bitcoin prices, possible movement on AA company, possible moves? Okay. So for Bitcoin, and I'm not a big follower of Bitcoin. I'm starting to actually look at more webinars and things about Bitcoin because there is some interesting stuff to it, and it's not going to be going away as I first thought. When I first came out, I'm like, oh, this seems like something's never going to get big. But obviously that has changed, and it's something that I got to get more knowledgeable about. Norm, what is your take on Bitcoin and just the overall cryptocurrency stuff?
Ain't my deal, man. You don't want my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And fair enough. I mean, it's just one of those things that there's people that are like gun ho, like this is the future, this is it, and there's and I personally don't. And this is, again, guys, keep in mind over on YouTube and in our chat room, this is my personal opinion that we're all allowed to have an opinion, right? It's like everybody has one, right? And it's okay. We can talk like this and respect each other's position, which is perfectly fine. I just don't see how the government, allows another currency to get this big, right? I just don't see it happening. They like control, and I just don't see how big governments.
That's been my main concern all along. Is at any point that the government can come in and shut it down, and people say, "Oh, they can't do it; it's decentralized." Well, pretty much done it in China, and we saw how much volatility and problems that caused.
Right.
There are some governments that have. But at the same time, I have no place to stand, because I've told this story before, but I had a buddy in 2012 that wanted to pay golf bets in Bitcoin. He and his wife and myself and my wife used to play golf at least two rounds a week, Saturday, Sunday, almost every week of the year, and we were about equal in terms of ability. We were both, between like 2 and 5 handicap, and $20 one week would go his way, 25 the next week would come my way, $20 the next day would go his way. So, it was what it was. But if you calculate that out over like 3 or 4 years that we consistently played together before we had Decker, and that was in Bitcoin. And now, given, it's people always say this, well, if I had $10 in Amazon in 2000, yeah, but would you have sold it? But I mean, if big hypothetical, I had not sold that, I'd be like a multi-billionaire, even just the little tiny amounts that we bet. So obviously I'm an idiot about Bitcoin. I have nowhere to stand in talking about it. And as it's gone from 80 cents back then to $40, $50, $60,000, I'm an idiot. But
right, correct. Looking back, I'm a big idiot on a lot of things that have obviously exploded, right? But yeah, it's just one of those things that
he was to begin with.
I'm sorry.
Dash asked if my friend is a multimillionaire now. He was to begin with.
Yeah, nice. So it's one of those things that, again, I'm not as knowledgeable to comment on it, but there are some. I just don't see this becoming, like replacing currency. Like, people think this is actually going to replace the dollar.
They said that 5-7 years ago.
That's not going to happen.
You're going to be able to pay in Bitcoin. And I'm not saying you can't find anywhere where you can, because there are a few places that started accepting Bitcoin a few years ago.
Yeah.
But it sure as hell hadn't become mainstream.
Yeah. Another thing is, I noticed there's wait, hold on a second. And it's, what about that case where some people stole like a bunch of Bitcoin? Supposedly this is not trackable, and the government was able to get this money back. And everybody's like, wait a minute, I thought this thing was not trackable, and they were able to track it and find the couple that stole this amount. If you guys remember, that was big on the news. It's so interesting on how that happened there. Well, but that's as far as we go. Yeah, go ahead. We got time.
So somebody mentioned here that people are somebody talking about government-backed or government-controlled digital currencies, which, correct, it's a central bank digital currency, CBDC. You're going to hear a lot about this. There's a lot of freaky stories about this, CBDC, which would be like Bitcoin but controlled by governments. And that is another thing that could potentially put Bitcoin and the other, independent, non-centralized cryptos out of business. If they decide to do a CBDC, they're not going to let the others do it. But the problem is, there are some serious crazy conspiracy theories on some of this. And I'm not saying they couldn't be done. Would they be done? Like, for instance, if everybody's getting paid in CBDCs, the government say, hey, Norm smokes. I don't. I used to back in the day, but I don't anymore. So, he gets paid X amount, but he can't, if he goes and tries to buy cigarettes at 7-Eleven, his transaction isn't going to go through. That's some freaky stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Or Norm said something bad about the government. Is he going to be allowed to go on vacation this year?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is crazy.
That happens in China. Like, you're banned from, if you say something about the government, I've seen videos of people trying to go buy a train ticket and it won't let them because their social credit score is too low. It's freaky.
That is freaky stuff, man. That is insane. So yeah, guys. So it's again, we could do a whole webinar on this, but again, it's just so many different things happening with that. Hopefully, and someone mentioned all the scams that there is. There's scams on everything. On every single thing that you could possibly think of, there's scams. But on Bitcoin, you start to see a very high increase of scams because of trackability, right? It's not like you take your credit card, you charge it somewhere, you see some funky action, you call your credit card company, they stop that right away, and you're good, right? You don't have to worry about it. They give you a credit available immediately. Not with crypto. So a whole different story there, right? So you get very careful.
He said to be,
um,
don't get me started on this. It's very
Oh yeah,
funny.
yeah. It's like yeah. Let's not get North started. Agree. All right, guys. Let's get to our levels here. 9 a.m. Eastern time over on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Let's get to levels, guys. Here we go. AMD on the list for sure. Looking very nice today, guys. Up 6.8, 1.6 million. We're just hoping that this thing can give us a good opportunity at the market open. So we got a couple of levels here. High of the pre-market 97.88. We're definitely putting that down. You can see after hours how this traded here. It got a couple of resistance level around that 97.88, which we are testing this morning as well. But this goes even bigger. Look at the bigger picture. Look at this great level of resistance you're having here. So no surprise, we are stopping around that area. This morning, I get the question a lot. Do you mark the high of the after hours the day before? You can. As something like this, you can mark it, right? If you mark 98.88 and you look over, it's going to be slightly above the top of this area of resistance that we have here. So you got a couple of days right on there as well. That's worth marking. I don't see why not. You can have that on there. It's supported by the daily as well. It's slightly above that if we get going today, right? It's going to be tough, I think, with everything going on in the overall market. We got 149 cents and we have 102.98. So we'll mark those two. We'll be ready for a pop here if that is what we're going to do today. Obviously, they had a great earning report, and they are showing that now by being up almost 7%. Towards the bottom, we got this area over here. Good support happening there. A little bit of resistance and more resistance happening in this area. This is 94.77. And then we can come down above that. We'll mark down our low of our pre-market over here around 96, right? So 96 is a good one. A little bit higher will be interesting too, because you can see a few things on there around 96, maybe 10 or so, showing some support there. So that is good. Let's head down to Starbucks, also with earnings and looking very strong this morning, guys. Doing pretty good here. Um, I love this little island. You have a great area of support and resistance happening right here. So let's go right to that. On the daily, you're looking at 81.31. On the bottom of this of support, you're looking at a 79.94, which is basically your high. Was your high of your pre-market for a little bit here. 79.56. I think that's still worth having there. You could see the struggle. What is took an hour to break out of that is breaking out of that now. And I'm not gonna mark the high of the pre-market yet. Let's see how far up we can move here on Starbucks after breaking out of this good level here that it just did, 79.56. Towards the bottom, a couple of levels here on the daily, 78.77, of course. You have another one down here at 77.50, and then you have your highs and lows of the last two trade days doing a pretty good job down here. So I think you're pretty set there. 81.31 will be a good one if we can get going up there. That is the next major level of resistance that I see on Starbucks here. mRNA this morning, they are up 5% now. They were up higher, almost hitting 160, 159.48 is your high of your pre-market here. So we'll mark that level. And then towards the top, let's see what we got going on. You can see on the daily also, again, more confirmation on that 159.68. Up here at 172.30, that's a good one there. And yeah, I like this midpoint here too. 165.86. Good mid area. Got a couple of days slamming up against that. So that is pretty nice. Towards the bottom, guys, highs and lows for the last two trading days. Got you covered. Previous day close. I don't think you need to add anything down there. So mRNA's got some good movement, good volume right now. You can see here good momentum towards the top side. He's trying to get going towards the top side again. See if we can hit that 160 and get back to the highs. Next, we have Oxy. Oxy is not going to give you a whole lot pre-market, right? We've seen this stock do this plenty of times where the pre-market action is just pretty quiet, but it can get going after the market open. Our high of our pre-market on this is going to be 60.97. Let's see here, 60.97. Got a couple of days, a little messy on the daily here. Got a couple of days slamming against that. We're right at the top of this range, right? We've been talking about this. There's like three ranges here. You got the big one, which is bouncing off of this here, right? And then you have this one all the way up here as well, which we're slamming against now. And then a couple of days that we're able to make it out of this main level here, right? I got a couple on there. So we'll mark those. The top of that's going to be 63, 62. That's good there. And then in between here, I don't see anything. 62.38. Again, not a whole lot of weight on this one. This is the one I like for sure. but the breakout out of this area will be nice. The few times we've done that, we've been able to run a little bit before coming right back down, which makes this level more interesting, right? When you see this, when you see a breakout price action, try to break out from this 60, 70 looks like, and come right back down. That just gives this level a lot more weight, right? So the few times we even gapped up above this, we came back right back down before that 60, 63. So definitely like that. I'm going to put a lot of weight on that level, 60.97 there. Might actually be 61, might be a whole dollar number. All right. Next, Uber. Uber, man, tons of action here. 9.3 million shares traded so far. This is definitely moving very well this morning. 26.46 low of the pre-market. And when I say well, I'm not talking about positive. I'm talking about just overall price action. Obviously, being down 7% is not good. 26.46 low of the pre-market there. We do have a level here with not a whole lot confirmation because I only see 1 day here. That's 28.21. You can see a little action in the pre-market off that, not much. Again, just not a lot of weight to it unless it's more days confirming that. Now, we have not been down here in quite some time. This is the 52-week low, which makes it very interesting. Let's go to weekly because now we're past 52 weeks there. Let's go to weekly and see if we could find some action here. Okay, now on the weekly, last time we were here was 2020, February, March, April timeframe. So we're going to put some levels here off the weekly. We're going to put down 24.14 clearly there, and obviously all the way down here. That's not happening today. But we have some levels towards the downside that we are pretty much set on. Now, if we look at towards the top here, here we go. Yeah, I don't think you need to add anything, right? We have our 28.21 level, but highs and lows of the last two trading days doing a really good job. You can mark down the high of the pre-market, but I don't think you need it at the moment. I think you're pretty much set with some good levels on here. Great action, down 8.1 on Uber. Amazing volume, guys, going for 10 million this morning as far as shares traded. Here we go, Lyft today. Let's go ahead and remove some levels here. So Lyft, low of the pre-market right now. What do we have? All right, low of the pre-market there, 22. High of the pre-market, 23.65. Oh, actually, that was my mistake. Those levels that we had, we actually placed here. Those are going back on the weekly, right? Those are not old levels. We have here 19.37, and we have other up here 15. So we got some stuff there. And let's see here on the weekly, we got one over here, 26.21. Right, so we put those levels there. I forgot. All right, cool. We are all set here on Lyft, guys. Again, another one with great volume this morning. Good price action at the moment. 5 million shares traded. Trying to recover, but this is down 26%. So is it an overreaction? Are we going to bounce back here on Lyft and start closing this gap a little bit? This is a big drop for them. Looking forward to see how that is going to trade out. All right, we are set, guys. AMD, Starbucks, Starbucks continues to run here, guys, getting above that 79.56. Hopefully it doesn't get too extended before we can get our hands on it. But trying to push for that 81 there. mRNA getting a little bit of a bounce, hanging out at the VWAP at the moment. We have Oxy right now, not doing a whole lot. We'll have to wait for the market open. And Uber and Lyft just doing their thing, man. Tons of volume there with Lyft taking a nice big hit this morning. All right, I see our moderators list getting nice and set up here. So we'll take a look at that. We got a little bit of time, guys. 9:08. We can get back to some more questions and comments and topics that we can chat up before we look at our moderators lineup. And then we hand it over to Brian and Andrew, which will be trading live today. So looking forward to that as well. Good morning, Carlos. The 5-minute opening range breakup is not as effective as it used to be for me these days. Any alternative strategy you recommend? I cannot agree with you more. It's one of those strategies that it's a hit or miss during this time of the way the market is trading. Things get extended pretty quickly if they're going to be in place, so you can miss something. The other strategy that you could look out for is the breakouts of the high of the pre-market highs and lows. That has been a good backup trade for me for the market open, right? So at the market open, I'm looking for an opening range breakup. If there's nothing good setting up, another one that I'm looking for is breakouts out of the pre-market highs and lows, right? And those are good when the range in the pre-market is not so wide. Sometimes you have such a wide pre-market range that you might still get an excellent move within that range and not break out of the pre-market highs or lows. So that's the one I'm looking for at the market open. High of day breakouts after a couple of minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes, right? Give it some time to set up. That could be another one to look for. Trying to give you some options of that that you can look for right when the market is opening up, right? So, But I agree with you. A 5 minute opening range breakup is tough. It's tough. By the time you wait 5 minutes, the stock could have ran significantly, and you might now be too far away to take a good entry, right? So we got to be careful on that. Is it true stocks only go up? Absolutely, absolutely. They only go up. That is 100% correct. Just your timing has got to be right. Obviously, we're kidding, but yeah. What else we have here, guys? Any other questions? We are looking good this morning. All right. How about on YouTube? Any questions over on YouTube? I don't see anything. Someone mentioned NVIDIA. Did we look at NVIDIA today? NVIDIA. Oh, yeah, we might have. Pretty quiet right now. I don't see anything crazy. Alcoa, AA. You know, I don't like the way Alcoa trades. I think it can be very spotty at times. The spread is not the best. They were in play a couple of times here. I know Brian would be a great one to ask about Alcoa. He knows this stock very well. He has traded a few times. I don't think I have ever traded Alcoa. But definitely ask Brian when he comes on live. He might be able to give you a better take on Alcoa. I think he actually had it on his list either early this week or last week. He had it. He was watching this one, so I know he looks at this one pretty well. Apple. I looked at Apple, Adham, and I didn't see anything great on it. Starting to move now, starting to get volume, but again, just pretty flat. Still a great one to have, even as a possible. I mean, it's Apple, right? You know, if the market is going to do something, especially after the meeting today, Apple can definitely follow suit. So you definitely want to have Apple close by. It's always a good one to keep an eye on. What do we have here? Which broker do I use? A lot of us, I think almost every moderator is using Interactive Brokers. So that's the broker that we use. They're really good. But again, you got to look at where you're located, what your account size is, and see what's the best broker for you. I know if you're in Canada, you can use Interactive Brokers. They got a Canadian branch, which is pretty good as well. So again, you just got to do a little research there. But the one we're using is Interactive Brokers. They connect well with Dash Trader Pro. They're a direct access broker. That's important. Make sure you have a direct access broker. So your fills can be as quick as possible, depending on your trading style, right? We always get the question, what broker should I use? Why we use Dash Trader Pro as a platform? There are other members in our community. You don't need to use Dash Trader Pro to join a community. Yeah, there are members in our community using Thinkorswim, and their style can support that, right? The way they trade, they can use Thinkorswim and be successful based on their strategies. You give Andrew to use Thinkorswim, and he'll probably struggle, right? Because the way he trades, that platform does not support his trading style, right? It just doesn't. He needs a much quicker execution platform that can do things very, very quickly. Yeah, exactly right. And Andrew said it. Andrew was using TWS, which, by the way, is a great platform. Artie uses TWS, but look at the way Artie trades, a little bit different than Andrew does. It's an award-winning platform. I think all platforms are great. It's just depending on what you're looking to do. So it's like when you go buy a car, you don't buy a car, you don't buy a minivan and then decide you're going to take it off road, right? You decide what you want to do. If you have, a couple of kids, you want to travel comfortable somewhere, you rent a minivan. You find out what you want to do first, and then you get the tools to do it. It's like some of my friends over here that they only have a rear wheel drive car. So you know what happens in wintertime over here when the snow drops, right? It's a nice car when when the summer is in full swing, spring, all that nice weather. But the minute that those two couple of inches of snowfall, they're parked up at home. So you got to have the right tools for the right job. That's what it comes down to.
I just walked in. What are you talking about? The Lambo you can't drive in the winter?
Yeah. I'm talking about how I got stuck up the hill coming up on off of Route 80 there. Oh man. All right, guys. We are looking good. Any questions? Got a couple of more minutes before we hand it off. We'll look at our moderators lineup here as well. Maybe that we can get to for you guys. Tonight, who do we have tonight? Tonight we have psychology, right? We have isn't Dr. Reed, yeah.
Kenneth Reed.
Yeah, he's really good. He's funny too, man. He's
demoted him by accident.
You demoted. He is so funny, man. He's great. Does great webinars. So definitely, you wanna take advantage of that. Louis, I'm not saying they're user friendly. TWS is not user friendly for me, at least, right? I prefer DAS any day. I try using TWS, and it doesn't work for me. But I do have it installed. I'm able now. I learned how to get out of a position in case something happens to DAS, which again rarely happens. I have it installed, but yeah, it's not user friendly at all. But Artie, if you talk to Artie, who disagree with me, you see him use the platform. He's very good at it, right? So it all depends on what you want to do, guys. There's a tool out there for everyone. Even Robinhood for some people, depending on how they trade, that might be a great platform, right? So it all depends on what you want to do. You can't knock any platform. Every platform has their strength and weakness, right? And they cater to a specific group of traders or a different style of traders. All right, guys, we're running out of time. Some really good questions coming in. Maybe this week we'll do a Q&A live on YouTube. And let's think about that. Maybe we could do something like that. I think that'll be fun. We haven't done one in a while. Maybe we'll do something like that because a lot of questions coming in. But let's get to our moderators lineup here, guys. As I'm doing this, I'm gonna disable video here so you guys don't get the mirror effect. Please hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. We appreciate it very much. And if that doesn't get you to hit the like button, maybe this will get you a little laugh there, and we would love for you guys to support us. All right, let's get to it, guys. So our list here. Let's see. Let's put this over here. Is that looking? No, I need to make it wider. There we go. All right, let's start with Thor, AMD, Uber, mRNA, PFE, Apple, and the scanners. Susan is looking at Oxy, BP, AMD. This thing moved up. Yeah, BP and AMD. Mike will be looking at AMD, mRNA, and Uber. We'll be waiting for alerts. Nothing that he likes this morning. That's Eamon. Dima is looking at AMD, Starbucks, Apple, and Oxy. Tiffany, Lyft, Starbucks, and also mRNA this morning. Jared, AMD, mRNA, Starbucks, and Uber, and some BTC miners there. Brian, his list: Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, mRNA, Lithium. I don't know the company, but LTHM. And then we have Starbucks here as well. So pretty good list, guys. Pretty similar to what we have on deck as well. We are all set this morning. Guys, trade safe over on YouTube. We're going to continue here on our chat room, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great trading day.
Take care, guys. Trade safe.